just I just want to point out, I guess you can't see it on camera. There's a single cat foot directly overhead. Hi, Josie.
Hi.
I'm here today with Josie Rubio. Josie, you're a writer,
Mm-hmm.
and you are also an editor?
Yeah, I'm a writer and editor, and then I also, until this next week, I work for the Guggenheim Museum
What
for
do you
their
do?
website. I
Oh,
work in
awesome.
the interactive department.
You have Hodgkin's lymphoma.
I had Hodgkin's lymphoma for a couple years, and then I had a stem cell transplant, and then I went into remission for that. And then there was a spot on the scan. They didn't know what it was. They said they would watch it. And then I got pancreatitis. And then they realized I had a separate cancer, unrelated, and that's neuroendocrine tumors. And that's what Steve Jobs and Aretha Franklin had. I had a couple procedures to try to keep that under control. And a couple years ago, I found out that I would just always have it. It would be metastatic. And since then, it's become more problematic. But my neuroendocrine cancer is rare, and the type that I have within that subset is even more rare.
Oh, first of all, congrats.
Thank you. That's why I'm hoping this 3% will work. People are like, you have to get a break somehow.
Yeah.
But then I met my boyfriend on Tinder, so I was like, did I use up
You may have used up all your luck for this lifetime.
I know. I was just saying the other day, I'm like, I'm not buying a lottery ticket because I feel like I have a finite amount of luck. I don't want to blow it. So I'm weirdly superstitious now.
So I've found any time I've dealt in hospitals or I've dealt in any sort of medical situation, there's always characters. There's always people either that become sort of an archetype for that sort of doctor or that sort of professional, or they're just so unique or so warm or so surprising in some way. Have there been any characters that have come up for you over the course of this experience?
A few, at Sloan Kettering, everybody there is really, really nice. And they're all really good looking. Like they came from Central Casting. I was like, am I in a medical drama right now? It's interesting to see each team, how they have their own kind of dynamic. And the dermatologists all have beautiful skin, and the guy who came to see me about this rash, he looked like Jesus. I expected to see sandals under his gown, but or his scrubs, but he just, they had this and then the other doctor came in and she had this luminous skin. And I was like, well, they're in the dermatology team. The brain doctors, the neurology doctors. The nurse told me, she's like, there were 10 of them, and when they came in, and they're like, oh, they were joking, the whole hospital's here. I don't know why they travel in such big packs, but my nurse was like, someone said, I was like, oh, they roll deep.
So you wrote an article recently for op-ed for the New York Times.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I had written a story about my breakup last year. My boyfriend of 12 years broke up with me. And I found out through our cat camera. I have a camera that looks in on the cats. Instead of going into dating as, I need to find my soulmate, I just kind of went in as something fun to do, and it was something oddly normal, and that was kind of therapeutic because it wasn't, about cancer. It was about just dating and navigating, and just a lot of fun things that I'd forgotten about dating.
Were you amenable to being in a new relationship?
I'm not sure. When I signed up, that's why I signed up for Tinder, because I didn't think it was going to be that serious.
You were signing up for some one-night stands.
No. But I was, I just wanted to date and not have things be so serious, because I was like, oh, I can't really offer much. And so I was like, I'll just kind of date for fun. Got to, my friend was like, one of my friends was like, you can, you could be at home or you could go out for a drink with a stranger, so it was very casual. I was amenable to dating somebody, but I didn't think that it would get so serious and that I would like somebody so much, and it kind of took me by surprise. And then when I started getting sick, it was really disappointing, because I was like, oh, now I finally have this, this great person in my life, and now I'm sick. So I wish I could have. I wish I could have met him sooner or not been sick. I'm still trying to not be sick, but we'll see. Yeah, I mean, a couple of times I've kind of tried to set him free. I had to promise to stop trying to break up with my boyfriend because he likes me and he's a good guy. So it's been good. It could have been, these past couple months could have been really terrible, and they have been in some ways. I don't feel well. It's been disappointing not having the treatments work, but it's also been really good. Like I don't know, I've still been having fun with someone I really like. So that's ended up being good in its own way, and also really sad. So
yeah. So tomorrow you are throwing yourself a party.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about this party?
So my former neighbor in Ohio had a living wake when he had terminal cancer. And he was present at his own party, and I had always thought that was a good idea. And now that I'm kind of facing this, I want to also have a party. I think it's for me, but it's also for people to say goodbye. A lot of people, now that things don't look good, or they're like, I want to see you, I want to say goodbye, and I think it's a lot of pressure, but it is. I understand also. I've had friends who've died young, and you do want to say goodbye or have that opportunity, and I think the party is a good way to do it in a kind of fun way. No matter how well you know the person or what memories you have, you just can. It's like low pressure. You say goodbye, and so I'm calling it an extreme going away party. It should be fun. Some people have said it's a little sad. My boyfriend said it was sad, and I talked to some of my friends. I said, well, what if this treatment that might not work? What if it works? And that's like the worst case scenario.
The worst case is you have 50 more years of life. Yeah.
So she's like, I want to have this party every year.
Yeah.
So that's the alternate. It could. So I told my boyfriend, I'm like, it could be the first annual going away party for me. That would be the ideal.
Well, in some ways, should we all just be having like annual going away parties with the acknowledgement that at any moment it actually could happen to any of us? I kind of love that idea.
I think that's what celebrations are. Your birth is just like here it is, like another year. Or,
yeah. I exist, and I exist until now. We'll see what happens as we go forward. So I have a debilitating addiction to Candy Crush Soda Saga, and it's one of those things that I play, and I'm like, what am I doing with my time? Like, there is, no matter what, there's a finite amount of time, and like, what am I doing staring at this thing? I was wondering if your relationship to time has shifted in terms of facing like maybe this will work out, maybe this won't work out.
As far as the treatment, yeah, I mean, I've always kind of felt a little bit of pressure to enjoy the good times, and I don't know if that's just growing up in the Cold War and just always expecting to be like blown up in the middle of the night. This is a morbid kid, but I was like, I need to tell everybody I love them when I was like 7, but because we might die in the middle of the night. So I've always kind of, I don't know, just expected to something to happen. So I've always kind of tried to seize the moment and tried to enjoy everything. Yeah. When I was touring the hospices, the place that I didn't like, I went up there and they were like, the nurse was a little rude. She was like, you're going to have to wait because we're in a meeting. And I was like, how long will I have to wait? And she's like, 10 minutes. And then she disappeared and there was like no place to sit. But part of me wanted to be like, I don't have much time. But I was like, is that a bad hospice joke? Do they always tell people, like, oh, everybody, like everybody says that,
Yeah, no one has time, lady. So the biggest question in the world, what do you think happens next?
I don't know. One thing that I've always taken comfort in, and I mention this a lot, is I read The Dirt, the Motley Crue autobiography, and each Motley Crue member, they tell their own story chapter by chapter. And when Nikki Sixx overdosed, he said he saw like a bright white light And I was like, as long as I lead a life more virtuous than that of Nikki Six, I'm in. And I
Yeah.
think I have. But
Yeah.
but then I worry. I was like, what if you have to be a great bass player too? Or like, what if there's some unknown caveat that that I'm not aware of? But I mean, they had like Shot at the Devil. I was like, I think I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm like, I expect to see a bright white light. And if I don't, I'm going to be like, what about Nikki Six?
Yeah, if he could do this, yeah, you gotta cut me some slack.
Exactly. So I had a dream once. I went to Queens to visit friends, and I had a dream that if you took the N train to the very end and then beyond, like the train filled with white light and everybody was in white robes, and it was this train to the afterlife. So it's possible.
And it turns out it's just Astoria. It's just that this whole time, the heaven was just Astoria. Or Brighton Beach, I guess, is the other direction.
Yeah, what's beyond Astoria?
Yeah,
I don't
nothing.
know.
Nothing is beyond Astoria.
The afterlife, apparently. So I don't know. Maybe I'll board like an N train at the very end and be taken. That's how you get there.
Well, I hope tomorrow's party is one of many, many extreme going aways.
I hope so. I hope it's the first annual.
Yeah, I hope it is the first annual of many going away parties. Thank you so much for doing this with me today.
Of course.
Thank you for watching. Take care of each other. Okay. And you are in treatment actively right now for that?
Yeah, I was. They tried a new treatment last year called PRRT. It's a kind of a radionucleotide targeted therapy. It was brand new. I was the first person at Sloan Kettering to get it, not in a clinical trial. They said it usually buys people a couple years. It bought me 6 months. They kind of knew that. It's pretty. My cancer is pretty aggressive. So they gave me about a year of feeling well, and then I was hoping I'd get more, but then like clockwork, I started feeling bad again. So they tried PRRT again. Unfortunately, it didn't work, and I'm about to start immunotherapy that has a very low risk of or low chance of actually working, but I'm gonna try it anyway because I have nothing to lose. So we'll see.
Um, so you have been keeping a blog of this experience since 2013, is that right?
Yeah, yeah. I thought it was just going to be 6 months. It ended up being a lot longer. So
How has the experience of writing about this been?
it's been really therapeutic. I really enjoyed just writing about it and just getting things out there and just kind of, yeah, just putting it out there, and it's helped me kind of process this whole thing. So it's been really helpful.
And do you have followers? Like, do you have regular followers?
I have a few. I have, yeah, I think, I'm not sure what my readership is, but I definitely have people that check in, and I'm always a little surprised. I think some people, I think even doctors sometimes tell people to check out my blog when they're like looking at PRT, or, just kind of what to expect. So I try to keep it pretty detailed so other patients like would know what to expect.
That's great. And
Yeah, it's called Dating While Dying. I took a memoir writing class this past winter at Gotham Writers with my friend Jocelyn, who has a book about her own health experiences called The Family Gene, and her family has this deadly gene. And she's a very funny writer as well, and she's right even though she's writing about a serious topic. And so I had this memoir writing class, and then from the memoir writing class, we kind of developed this writing group. And so he he went to. I was really sick at the beginning of 2018, kind of like how I am now. I had to do daily hydration. Things weren't looking good for me. It was before the PRRT, and he went to England for work. And when he came back, he was a little bit different. Um, and he had said he met up with an old high school friend and reconnected with her. And then I started getting, like, there were letters in the mail. They were writing each other, and he definitely seemed a little bit different. He said he wanted to book himself a solo trip to Iceland, and I said I didn't think that was a good idea. And people had just done a GoFundMe for me, and I had used some of that money to pay for both of our Cobra because he had switched jobs. And I was like, hey, I was like, I expect you to pay me back for the Cobra. And he's like, oh no, you said you would pay for it. So he basically was kind of taking my Cobra money and like using it to fly to Europe. So he booked it without me. I said, it makes me sad for you to go on vacation without me. Can we talk about this? He's like, oh no, we're just going to argue about it. I booked this trip. So he booked a trip, sent him this tearful email saying, like, should we break up? I feel like you're waiting for me to die. And he was just like, okay. So later that day, it turned into the cat cam, and he was on the phone with his brother, and he was saying how much he enjoyed reconnecting with his friend, how he loved riding around on her motorcycle, with his hands on her hips. How unfair I was being, how he had been dealing with cancer for 5 years, and it sucks. He's like, why can't I take a trip to Iceland to see my friend?
He had been dealing with
He had
cancer.
been dealing with cancer for 5 years, and it was terribly unfair for him.
Second degree cancer.
So basically, I was like, he was Ethan Frome, and I was this. But in the scheme of things, I tried to be upbeat, and I think through my blog, I've always tried to do as much as I can. So it's not like I was this nagging, sickly person. We'd gone to vacations, and I had mostly financially supported him throughout the years. So, so yeah, I saw this on the cat cam. He said how much fun he had walking around London, like not thinking about cancer. It was he said some really terrible things, and this is after just years of him kind of mistreating me, and I was just in this frog in a pot, like I didn't realize, and then also being so sick, I was just kind of waiting. This and it's terrible if you're in a relationship like this. I was like, well, I'm gonna die soon anyway, so I'm not gonna bother breaking up with him, and that's terrible. So luckily he met this other woman and was eager to leave me. His master plan was to continue living with me, and like he's like, I'll take care of you. I was like, oh, that's all right. I'm fine. So I had to beg his parents to pay to get his rent because he doesn't have any money. Anyway, he's gone. So he finally left, and and then I got the PRRT, and I just kind of had this new lease on life. I finally felt better, and he was gone, and I was a little bit heartbroken. I mean, even though he was kind of terrible, I didn't expect to be single, and at 40, and that was terrifying.
Yeah.
So I also though I kind of knew the doctors gave me this year, and I was like, I don't have time to be sad about him. Like I really need to dust myself off and kind of enjoy my life. So I traveled a lot. I went to see friends. I went to Europe several times. I went to Bermuda for my birthday. I went to Cuba with friends. I've been just traveling, and things have been good. And then 1 week I had received just terrible news about something, and then I saw him at a concert with the woman he left me for.
So that was one of the things I was going to ask you. Did anyone have a really adverse reaction to the concept of a party, or even to any time you have had any sort of realistic or lighthearted reaction to what you're facing?
I think it's been hard for people. It's not always easy for me either. And sometimes especially the past couple weeks when it's looked pretty grim for me, I'll just be talking about something matter-of-factly, and I'll look up and the other person's like crying or sad, and I think I've distanced myself a little bit from it, and so to me it was like talking about hospice or something like that, and I've forgotten that this other person is also going through this too. So yeah, that's been a little bit sad. But as far as the party, I think most people are, just kind of on board with it. Some people are worried it's going to be too sad. But I don't actually think so. I think it'll be fine and fun for most people. I'm sure there'll be tears, but
Yeah.
it'll be good.
You posted something on social media recently about shopping for hospice, and that I thought it was brilliant, but I really enjoy like frank discussion of what's happening, and I could see where people might be
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
I mean, it was hard. That day was tough.
Yeah.
It was, I got through it and I was okay, but then, I don't know, at the end of the day, I went to dinner, and like the duck I ordered was like, they were short servers at the restaurant, and the duck I ordered was like cold, and I don't know. I just kind of had a meltdown, and it's just one of those things where something little happens, and you're just like, and it's just like that triggers a lot of like everything that you've been kind of holding on to that day. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I did. I had to decide, and there's a lot of just boring stuff you have to do, before. So I've been trying to do one boring thing a day, like a will
Yeah.
or.
Yeah. Power of attorney. Yeah. All that stuff.
Yeah, and it's no fun. It's just really, really boring. I'd rather be planning the parties and things like that. But yeah, so I've been getting through that. That's kind of been a slog. Disability, and just, being sick is kind of a full-time job sometimes. It's like calling about your medication. They sent me like one syringe with a bunch of medication the other day. Just like dumb stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or the ambulance. I had to fill out the form for when an ambulance came a couple weeks ago, and just sending in the insurance thing. It's just mind-bogglingly boring sometimes.
It's always interesting to me the mundaneness of things that actually were traumatic. Like you say, the ambulance. Like, I always think when there's an explosion, not even not like a terrorist explosion. There's a major fire or something, and like, or there's a police call or a domestic or something or an EMS call. That's just Tuesday for that person. Like, this is their job, and they've got a shift, and like at 10 o'clock they're off this shift. For me, it's one of the most traumatic moments I'm going through, and I think it's the same thing with like dealing with the paperwork about the ambulance trip. Like, the experience in the ambulance was maybe horrible and traumatic, and now it's a piece of paper, or now it's just something to be dealt with. I don't know. It's always interesting to me.
Yeah, now it's a bill.
Now it's a bill.
And then so there's a lot. Sometimes there's fewer. And then I really enjoyed the gastric doctors who tried to get me out in time to go to a concert. This last time I was in, they are very cognizant of trying to your quality of life and trying to get you out when they can. They got me out maybe a couple years ago for Mother's Day because my mom was in town, and I was like, I just need to get out just one day. And so they got me out, and then this time I decided I was going to pretend to be in charge to try to let them out, to try to let me out. And so the doctor said, we're going to try to get you out tomorrow. And I was like, I have a concert tonight. That's not going to work. And so they got it together and they got me out. So that was very sweet of them. They really try to go above and beyond and try to work with you, work with your.
Yeah, it's so funny to use this language, get out. Like it's prison in some ways, and I wonder, how is your relationship to self-sovereignty and like being able to run your own schedule and run your own life? Like, are there little things that you've found to do that just mean like, I was in control of this moment, or I determined this moment?
A little bit, yeah. Just trying to get out of the hospital, or for a while I had to be on antibiotics, and I initially kept telling them no, but I knew that I eventually had to say yes. But initially saying no kind of gave me this sense of control, but I knew that I really had no choice if I wanted to get better. And then also, I did a staycation a couple weeks ago. I was supposed to go on vacation, and I just couldn't. So I have to have my Metaport accessed for daily hydration. And I have to do the daily hydration, otherwise I get really sick. So I went in to Sloan Kettering, and they allowed me to take it out, and then they would just do the hydration in the hospital or the outpatient centers for a couple days. So I did that 2 days, and I was able to swim and be a normal person without this thing being accessed for a couple days. So, I try to do normal things every now and then to try to get control back a little bit.
Yeah. Is there any physical things you have to go through that at one time in your life you would have been like, that's horrible, that's gross, that whatever it is, that now you're like, this is just how I roll?
Yeah, I mean, a couple years ago, I had to sleep in diapers all the time because of just these terrible gastric things that happen. And that's just very unique to my own. I was talking to my boyfriend who was in the ambulance with me, and he's like, "You didn't even get a siren." I was like, if they charge me, I was like, if they try to charge me, now I have to charge it to my insurance. But I was like, I'm going to mention that I didn't get a siren, and I should get a discount. I was like, that's not an emergency.
Yeah, what's a trip in an ambulance if you don't at least get a siren?
So I'm going to bring that up as a discount. Always try to get a deal.
Yeah.